Hello, everybody. Welcome. Happy Friday. Weekend is finally here, and you know what time it is. It is Inkarnate time. Today, we're going to be showing users a simple but powerful process to make a dungeon in just 15 minutes. One that's not too dissimilar from the dungeon you see here on the screen. So I'm looking forward to this. These kind of time challenges are great to hone your skill. They make you better at getting yourself more familiar with the tool. That's also good for those of you who maybe are in a pinch, last minute pinch to kind of get a map done before a session begins. It's also helpful for those of you who just want to get better at understanding and being more efficient with the tool. So all of this stuff will be very, very helpful. So definitely stick around and we'll get that started. So the first thing I want to do is create a new map. I'm going to use the Fantasy Battlemap style. I'm going to choose that style. And what's really nice is we've made some changes is that you can actually label the map or title the map before. Yes, a 5-minute challenge is a great one. I did about 10 5-minute challenges earlier because I was involved in testing the 5-minute challenges before we did the contests in our Discord. So I'll go ahead and label it just 15-minute map. I'm doing Ultra 4K because I have a strong, more higher end machine. But if you have a not as powerful as a machine, you might want to consider editing in a lower resolution. Maybe not 1K because the lower the resolution, obviously, the more blurrier the stamps and textures will be. So I recommend usually like 2 or 3K. But if you have a powerful high end machine, you can totally go with 4K. When it comes to what kind of aspect ratio or what's the tiles that I want to do, you need to be realistic about what you can do in 15 minutes. It can be kind of humbling actually to see what you can accomplish in a time limit. So I don't recommend setting a scale that's going to be unrealistic. Like you're probably not going to make the entire Underdark in just 15 minutes, right? You're probably going to end up only making a small dungeon, and that's okay. A lot of dungeons don't have to be massive. A small one works great. So you're going to want to stick with a amount of tiles that's going to be realistic. So start with, go to custom. Hey, first time chatter. Glad that you're here. That hot George. Glad that you're here. So I'm going to go with half of what the landscape default is, 20 by 15 instead of 40 by 30. So I go up into the columns here, 20 by 15. Oopsie, not 315. That's definitely not a realistic goal, right? So 20 by 15 is going to be a more realistic map scale that I can work with, while the 40 by 30 is going to be huge. So you have to pick a goal that's realistic, and that one's going to be something of a scale that's not so massive, or so small. So I'll go ahead and create the map at 20 by 15. And the first thing that I'll do when the map opens up is I'll turn the grid on to kind of use as a guide to help me out. So if I go right here and say show grid, the grid is on and it's already set to the 15 by 20 for me. So that's good. Some things I want to do is I'm going to turn off the blur and intensity by just taking the slider bar all the way to the left. That's 0. That's 100% basically. I'm going to turn that off. And I'll also bring it all the way down to layer -5 because I just don't need it to be on any other layer but there. So that first step is kind of prepping the canvas. We've set the scale, we've put the grid on, we've adjusted the grid. And what we'll do in the first part is I'm going to show you the steps on how to make a dungeon in 15 minutes. Once I finish showing you the steps, I'll just go ahead and start working on a map for 15 minutes so you can see all the different steps that I did in an uninterrupted 15 minutes so that you can see it in the process. And I will be sure to also, it's good. 15 minutes goes by so fast. But just know that if I don't respond during those 15 minutes, it's only because I'm working away furiously to work on the map. So definitely bump up some good music when you're working on a 15-minute map to kind of give you the motivation and the inspiration. I always love to jam out some good music when I'm making a map. So setting that canvas, I've got that part done. I've set that scale. The next step is I'm going to want to continue prepping the canvas. I want to choose a texture that's going to be the base of the dungeon. Normally, when I work on a map, I build from the ground up. I don't start with little tchotchkes and details in the beginning. I do that at the end, right? You start from the ground up, making the cavern walls, the regular human-made walls or whatever made walls, and then all the other stuff. You always build from the ground up. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and choose a texture that's going to be the base of the ground. I'll maybe choose this one right here. It's a darker color. I generally recommend using a darker color for your base texture for the ground because it's the lowest point on the map. You're going to use contrast to create depth, right? Dark being down below, light being up top. Contrast is how you create depth. So I'll choose that. I'm going to go fill, make sure that the BG layer is selected, go fill. I have that set up. That looks good. Now I'll want to do the next step, which is prepping the tools that I'm going to be using to make the dungeon. Because what takes the most amount of time for something like this is the prep work, right? It's not the dungeon itself. 15 minutes is about 15 minutes of prep work. So technically, if you wanted to be very specific, it would be more like a 30-minute map, but the prep work does take some time, but it's not very much, just 15 minutes. So we're going to what we're going to do is prep the shape tool for the cavern walls and stuff. So what I'll do is I'll start at the top. I'll make sure that merge shapes is set. I want to use that. I'm going to choose a stroke. And what you want to do is choose a cliff. We're going to start with the natural cliffs first. And I'm going to choose this cliff right here. And then I'm going to choose a fill. I'm going to make it a color black like this. And then what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and turn snap to grid on so that I can use the snap to grid function so that way I'm lined up with the grid. I'll use a square shape and I'm just going to snap a square right here like this so that I can zoom in and look at the shape as it is. So some things that you're going to notice about the shape is it's facing the wrong way, the stroke. So I'm going to flip that. There's a little button here. I flip that. So that's been flipped. And the other thing that I want to do is change the scale of it, because if I put two of these side by side, you're going to notice that that little 5-foot square space in between is not very big, right? And so to fix that, we'll go ahead, let me select both so you can see it. If I bring that scale down, you'll notice that there's enough room now in that 5 by 5, that 5 feet across there, so that you have room. So you always have to scale that. The other thing that you'll notice is that these stamps are picking up what's on the FG layer, so I should probably pick a texture that's going to match with that, or you can just turn off the masks or the clipping masks on these. I'm actually just going to take the entire thing and just change it up. So I'll go over to a lighter gray color, like maybe this one right here is a lighter gray color, and then is it the right lighter? Yeah, I think it's the lighter color, this one, and then I'll go ahead and select FG and just go fill. All right, you can just turn them off or you can just fill. So now that I've set that, that's good. Now the next step is I want to prep the line tool. So I'm probably going to want to choose a wall. So I'll choose this one right here. You know what? That's in 2.0. Let's choose a 1.0 wall. So that way, if people are following along, they're able to do it. And then I'll go ahead and just place a line here and just kind of make sure that it's around the same thickness or so. And then also I'll probably maybe bring the brightness down just a hair. Yeah, there we go. I think that looks good. That was good. Okay, so now that I have all that set, now I should go back to the line tool. I want to take this. I want to favorite it right away. I'm going to go back to the shape tool, select this shape here, and I'm going to go ahead and favorite it right away. And you'll find your favorites in here, by the way. So now that I have done that, that's good. So I've prepped the two tools that I'm going to be using. I'll probably want to prep some stamps as well. I'll go over to the favorites in here as well and just kind of make sure that I delete anything that I'm not using. There we go. Now there's a couple other elements that we want to prep. For starters, stairs. I'm going to want to prep some stairs, and because a great way to show depth in each one of your chambers in your dungeon is to use stairs, right? Stairs mean you're going up or down. A dungeon can look really flat without stairs. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll just go ahead and just use this for right now. I'll change the stroke. So I'll go through and just go like this, apply that there, and then I'm going to go ahead and go into the catalog and just choose stair and just kind of pick the stair that you want. I'll choose this kind of stone stair right here. I want to make sure that it's going to be a layer below. There's some things that I want to edit with the line, by the way. For starters, I'm going to probably want to turn off the shadow. There's no need for that. And I'll also want to maybe change it to the luminosity blend mode so that this way it'll pick up whatever textures beneath it, and then just bring that brightness down, bring the contrast down a little bit. And now I have some stairs to add as well. And of course, what should I do with those? I should right away add those to my favorites. So that way all the stuff is favorited. And we're already like 10 minutes in. So a lot of prep work takes a little bit of time. So we have all of these things set up. That's good. And the next step is we probably want to quickly favorite some stamps so that when the time comes to actually add them, they'll be there. And there are at least 3 or 4 types of stamps that you should always add. The first one is going to be Rubble. Rubble is nice. So I'm going to go ahead and place a Rubble stamp there. Make sure to also throw down some wooden Rubble as well. Make sure we also throw down some of this smaller Rubble right there. And then maybe some wood, smaller wood chunks here is a good idea. And I think for now that those should work for right now. So those are there. So let's go ahead and favorite all of that as well. I didn't prep the canvas before, so I better go into my favorites here and kind of delete all these. You just click that X and then press enter and it will delete them. And then I'll just select each one of these and just make sure that they get added to my favorites. There we go. So all that's been favorited. And now we're going to do one more bit. We're also going to be doing favoriting for our textures because we want to be able to have textures available to us when we need them. So let's go over to favorites and I'll just quickly delete all these ones. Great, thanks for bearing with me here. Okay, looking good. There we go. Recently used. Great. Let's start with cracked ground first. The cracked ground is going to work great. You're in a dungeon, right? You're underground. There's going to be seismic activity. Things are going to break and crack. So you want to have like this cracked ground texture right here. That's going to be very, very helpful. You're also probably going to want to use a rubble texture as well. And there's going to be this nice one right here. This is going to work just fine. This nice rubble texture. So that works out good. And I'll make sure to also add that to my favorites. Let's see here. Favorite that. There we go. I'm all over the place. All right. So now that everything has been favorited and kind of prepped, I don't need to do every single stamp. I just want to prep the stamps that I'm going to be using the most of, because when you don't prep the stamp, what's going to end up happening is that you're going to travel through the catalog to see what you're looking for. And that may not seem like that doesn't take up a lot of time, but when you're doing that a lot, it adds up. So it's always best to prep your stuff first so that way everything is available to you. And then I'll probably add actually just a couple more things. Like I want to add like a broken statue. There should be a broken one in here. I think there's a broken one here. That looks good. There's also one right here that's broken. Let's go with this one right here, and I'll just go ahead and add it right there, and I'll make sure to add that to my favorites as well. It's always nice to have a statue there. Okay, so I think everything's been prepped. So we'll go ahead and delete that. We'll quickly press save. And then what we'll do is I'll take you through the steps on making the walls, what stamps to add, where to add them, and then all of that stuff. So where are we at for time? 13 minutes, perfect. The prep work didn't take a full 15 minutes. In fact, I think it took closer to 10 because I was going on for a few minutes in the beginning there. So that's great. So prep work didn't take quite as long as we thought. So quickly save. So now we're going to go ahead and go back to the shape tool. We're going to go into favorites and we're going to go ahead and take our shape, make sure snap to grid is on. And what I'll do is I'm just going to go ahead and go over the entire screen like this. And I want the stroke to be outside of the canvas on purpose. Okay. Hey, Lilac Lilith. Glad that you're here, by the way. So I'm going to go ahead and add that and apply it. Now, right now, you're not going to see anything. You can't really see anything, and that's okay. If you do need to see the grid right away, you can bring the grid back up, and we can just turn a little bit of shadow on so you can kind of see it a little bit, and then we'll bring it back. So what we'll do here is we'll go back to the shape tool. We're going to go to the subtract, and then what you will do is you'll first start by creating the first room. That's the room that you start in, right? So I'll make the starting room, subtract. This is going to be the starting room. One thing I didn't do, which I forgot to mention, was you should set the shadow, because if you want to show depth, you're going to want to really bump up the shadow and bring the intensity. See that shadow right there? I add that right there. Let me go back and you can kind of see it here. Bring this up, intensity up. There we go. Really get a dark, dark, dark shadow, because the secret to depth is contrast, right? The cliffs are light and the cliffs are light and the texture below is darker and the shadows are dark. So contrast is how you create depth. So now once you've created the starting room, then you're going to want to create the other rooms. Don't worry about creating a path that connects the rooms. We'll do that later. Let's just make all the individual rooms that exist. So maybe I'll just go ahead and create this, and then make sure you want to stick to the grid. What you don't want to do is do this. Notice how I'm in between two grids right there. Don't do that. Follow the grid all the way through. So when I go through, I'll add the next piece. Don't worry if it's all straight lines. We're going to get to that. So we'll start here. Let's maybe create a large room in the center like this. Maybe that might be a good idea. We can make it a little odd shape here like this. Let's maybe go this one right here. That looks good. And then we'll create two more rooms. We'll create one more room right here. And then we'll create the last room, the exit room, right there. And just to make it different from the other rooms, we'll change it like that. So now that we've done that, now we need to create the path that connects them. So why don't we go ahead and do this? We'll go ahead and create a path that goes straight and connects those two. Then we'll create a path that goes here and connects that one. And then we'll create another path that goes here and then connects to that one. And then what we'll do here is we'll create an interesting different kind of path setup. I'll go ahead and make it a little bit more jagged, kind of like this. There we go. Okay. All right. There we go. Okay. Now, as you can see now, I have my dungeons all set up and put together. That looks great. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set this to all the way up to layer +5, and I'll go ahead and take the grid and put it back down to layer -5, turn off those shadows. And what's cool is you'll only see the grid now on inside of the dungeon, while the grid on the outside of the dungeon doesn't even show up. It's covered and hidden by the black part. So this way you have a grid that is, yes, you can use, well, I do not think snap to grid, by the way, first time chatter, works with hex, at least not yet. It's something that I think has been requested. So very, very helpful. We're definitely going to want to look into that. But I personally think that all of snap to grid should work with all of them. That's just my personal opinion. But definitely that's a great request. And I would love to see that myself. Ooh, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to remove, add the way out. There we go. Now I have the way out. Okay. So one thing you'll notice now is that everything is kind of these straight lines. The problem you see is it looks very unnatural, right? Natural caverns have curves and strange lines and things like that. They don't have straight lines like this. So what we'll do now is we'll go back to that shape tool and we're going to choose a brush shape. And we're going to bring the stroke down. And what we're going to do is we're going to remove, oh, not the stroke shape, my bad. My mistake. I'll go ahead and select this again. There we go. And I'll go ahead and bring the brush size down a little bit. And now we're going to create the natural parts. And my suggestion is do not remove every single straight line, because what's really nice, again, is contrast. A straight line contrasts against a curved line, right? And that's how you're going to make the curved and the straight lines so pronounced and pop out, is that. So we'll start in the beginning room and just move our way. So I'll start here and create kind of this more natural like shape like this. And then I'll go ahead and add another one just right here like that. But I'll leave some straight lines in that space. Now let's go ahead and maybe break up this one. Now, if you're wondering where to remove black space, that negative space, guess what? It's easy. It's where you have a lot of that black space. Notice that I have a little bit of black space up here. Then this is a good place to add that up there, right? What about up here, right? There's a lot of negative space. By negative space, I mean black. So then I should probably add a room up here, right? Because I have that room. Same thing down here, right? And up here, I have some room. Why don't I go ahead and fill that space up? Oh, I have some unused space here. Let's do that. I have some unused space here. Why don't we actually make a room that kind of connects? We'll add a little bit of space here. So you're starting to see the technique, right? Start using the black or that negative space to start filling out. And we'll add another one right here. Let's go ahead and add a little bit here, here. Let's add one here, and a little bit up here. There we go. So now we've done that. The next step is that in a cavern, sometimes there's these stone columns that are holding things up, right? Notice how there's a lot of positive space. When I say positive space, I'm talking about where the gray in the grid is, right? So let's do the inverse area. So we'll go over to add. I'm going to bring the brush size down, okay? And maybe what I would like to do is maybe create an area like this, like that, and now I have some space here. And what's cool about this is I can go ahead and just kind of move it over, because what it did is it didn't snap it. Notice that a lot of these shapes right here became the separate space. See this right here? It became a separate space because I disconnected them. What's nice about that is now I can move it around. I want it to fit more to the grid, so maybe move it right here, or maybe I want it to fit shape here. Maybe it'll look better there, right? You can move these around. And now you have some space to work with, and which is kind of nice, right? Let's go ahead and make another one. Let's make a couple more. This is going to be the main room, so maybe adding just a couple of these, like adding a circular one right there, and then let's maybe add another circular one right here, and another one right here. There we go. Okay, and then I'll go ahead and move this just a little bit this way. There we go. So now we have those kind of negative spaces there, so that works out well. So now that all of that's been put together, I think overall this is looking pretty good. What we should do next is go ahead now, I want to use the portal tool to make some walls that are natural, which is what we have as the default, and some walls that are unnatural. That means they look like they've been built by somebody. So what I'll do here is I'm going to go ahead and take the shape tool. I'm going to go over to the portals right here, and portals are going to allow you to make a hole. And so what I'll do is I'll go ahead right here. I'll go ahead and turn snap to grid on just so that it's easier to work with. And I'll go ahead and just remove certain sections. And the sections that I'm going to remove are going to be where there's straight lines. Okay, so I'll go ahead and remove that section. There's a straight line right here. Why don't we go ahead and remove some of that? There's some straight lines right here. Let's go ahead and go right here. Always good to have a corner that you can work with. There's a straight line here. Let's work with that. Let's see. Oh, another straight line right here. Let's work with this one. This should look good. Oop, I want the dot to be in the corner there, and it's not working. Let's go with that. And then I think let's add one more. Let's add a couple more right here as well. There we go. Okay. Now we've prepped our favorites. We've already got our shape, our line tool right here, and we already have our snap to grid on. Make sure you're set to pen, and then just go ahead and snap these pieces together like this, and now you'll have some unnatural like shapes, lines going through here. Let's go start up here and then move our way here and here like this. You'll see how the lines kind of come together, and it kind of begins to have a nice contrast between natural walls and unnatural walls, right? And that's kind of what you're going to look for, right? Contrasts are the trick to showing a good piece. So now that we've added all those contrasts with that, we can also do some interior walls as well. Like maybe there are some walls that are separating things. So for instance, maybe I want to put a room right here like this, and then I can use the portal and then put a room right there inside of that. Maybe I want to add another room right here like this. And maybe I want to just take that portal and just kind of put it right here like that. So you have a kind of nice room right there. Same thing, right? Maybe I want a room right here. Oopsie, let's go ahead and push that. Let's go ahead and turn snap to grid off, because what's happening is it's not perfectly set. So we'll go there. We can turn snap to grid back on, and then I'll create another room right there. So now you're kind of seeing that you can make separate rooms with interior walls. So things are kind of coming together. Only 79 changes. Okay, so after this, we'll go to the next steps, which are the showing the depth that I'll add in the stairs, and then we'll apply textures, and stamps. And then I believe we still have 20 minutes left before the 15-minute mark, and then we'll go ahead and record that. Also, what I'll do when I add this to YouTube, the portion where I'm working for 15 minutes to make the map so you can see the process, I'll make sure to time lapse that portion. If you like to follow along, just make sure that when you watch on YouTube, just to bring down the playback speed to something a bit slower, because I know some people get frustrated when things are moving fast. So you'll be able to slow down the speed in that way. So let's go ahead and make those stairs. We've already got our stairs lined up right here. Let's make sure it's set to the right layer. Let's bring it down a couple layers. And I'll show you shadows in just a moment, because shadows are in the process. I will show you, don't worry. We're getting to that. That's actually one of the last steps next to filters. So we're definitely going to get into that. And there's a couple ways to approach it. So yeah, I'll explain it in a little bit. I don't want to explain it now, because don't worry, I'll get to that. So I'll add my stairs, and I want it to look like it's descending down into it. So just so you know, this means going down, because I know that some people get kind of confused, like, hey, how do I know up from down? There's a really good stream, by the way, called Stairs and Roofs, and it kind of, I think it's called Stairs and Roofs, and it does explain stairs in a little bit more detail. But for those of you who don't know, this stairs, if you're going in this direction right here, this right here is going down, while this is going up. Okay, and the reason why is because this shadow right here represents the shadow of this step right here. Okay, so if you're ever confused about, hey, how do I know up from down? Just know that this shadow represents basically the shadow of what's called the riser. That's the part that the stair goes up. That's that shadow, or you could also call it ambient occlusion. Okay, so now that I've done that, I can go ahead and just add stairs into these tight 5 by 5 feet here in these tight sections. So right here, I'll add some stairs right here. Let's go ahead and go back to my pen here. Make sure I'm set the snap to grid. Let's go ahead and add some stairs there. Oopsie, my mistake. There we go. Let's also add some stairs right here. That looks good. Oop, let's add some steps right here. And let's add some steps going in right here. Like that. And then let's maybe add some steps going here and going here. There we go. So stairs are a great way to show depth, right? So there's that step. Okay. Now let's go ahead and add in some of our textures real quick. So we'll go back to our favorites here. And what we'll do is this cracked ground texture, you're going to apply this to wherever you see natural wall. We're not going to add cracked ground to the straight walls, because it's going to mostly represent like erosion, right? Which you would kind of expect. I forgot to change the scale, by the way. So let's bring that scale down. There we go. All right. And then I'll just go ahead and apply this texture wherever you see some of that natural wall. So I'll apply that texture like that. And already it's starting to kind of come together a little bit, isn't it? When you start just doing these techniques, just always, what really helps is I put some over here. Sorry about that. I put some, the trick really to getting the map done in a decent amount of time is just prep work. Just having everything prepped beforehand, because otherwise you're going to be doing all of that stuff while making the map. So always do a little bit of prep stuff. So that cracked ground is going to be helpful. And then the next step is we'll go ahead and start putting in our rubble. And great places to put rubble are going to be where you see natural ground. Or natural wall. So I'll go ahead and turn the shadows off for this for now, and I'll go ahead and just kind of place these. It's a little bright, so why don't I just bring the brightness down, because I don't want them to be brighter than the walls. So if I just bring the brightness down a little bit like that, and then I can go ahead and just start applying this rubble wherever I kind of want it. So I can place it here, and it's okay if it overlaps because it's underneath the black part. So that's the really nice part, is that negative space isn't going to be affected no matter where you place it. So just place rubble in these spaces. Maybe you want to have a section that's blocked off like this, like maybe you can't take that section because it's blocked off by rubble. Always a good idea. Up against here is a good one. Let's maybe put some in this last chamber here. I'll break up a little bit of it. Let's flip this one around and have it face this way. There, we got some good rubble there. That looks good. So now that you have the rubble, dungeon is coming together, right? Let's go ahead and continue adding more things. We should definitely add in this rubble right here. We're definitely going to want to add in some wood. Let's do wood next. Let's go ahead and do that one. I'm going to place it down, just see what it looks like. It's a little bright. Again, brighter than the wall. Not really caring for that, so I'll bring the brightness down. And then I'll just create some nice rubble pieces in here. Remember I mentioned something was blocked off, so let's put some collapse right there. Let's maybe put this large chunk right here. Maybe can go in, let's see here, I want to level it out to where it's, let's say maybe this room right here kind of collapsed right here. So we'll go ahead and throw some of that in that room. Oopsie, I'll undo that. Didn't want to move that. Take this, let's move it over to here like this. I think, let's move it over to here because I do want people to get into that room. There we go. Turn off those shadows. Don't really need them for now. We're going to do most of our shadow work at the end there. Okay, that looks good. Okay. So next, we'll go ahead and add in the rubble textures, and then we'll add in the light and shadows. And I'm not adding a ton of details. The one thing about this kind of a map is that you don't need to, right? With the dungeon, a lot of the stuff that's going to be on the screen that's going to be interactable are probably going to be like NPCs, some monsters to create, some enemies and stuff like that. You don't have to add in a whole lot of environmental stuff outside of maybe just a few traps and some things that your players can interact with. Already there's so much that your players can interact with. They can hide behind walls, they can pick up rubble, they can bottleneck enemies within these 5 foot wide corridors. There's so much already that your players can kind of interact with. There's so much going on there. So let's go ahead and add in the rubble, and I'm going to place the rubble wherever there's this wooden rubble here. So I'll change the texture scale a little bit. There we go. And I'll probably have to bring the brightness down a little bit just to get it to kind of match. There we go. And then I'll just go ahead and apply that rubble wherever I want. Maybe have some in the center of the room. Maybe have some over here. Over here would be good. Mostly where you see a lot of the wooden parts is a good place to put it, but not always. Right over here is a good one. All in here. There we go. So that looks good. A lot of those changes quickly save. Excuse me. Awesome. Okay. Once this saves, we'll go ahead and do the last bit of stuff here. We're going to want to put some things that, excuse me, your players can interact with. I'm going to put like that fallen statue that we favorited in the last room, and then I'll probably add something to the middle room, which is where maybe the main, where like a boss is or something. So I'll probably make some changes in there. In fact, what I'll probably do here is I'll probably go ahead and use this texture real quick, and I'll just remove this, and we'll do the first thing, which is go to my favorites, and I'll add this statue, which I'll put in this room right here. Right there like that. It is a little bright, so we'll bring the brightness down. There we go. And then what we'll do here is I'll add a little bit of a summoning circle. Oopsie, that's not how you spell summon. And then I'll go ahead and let's use a broken summoning circle. That kind of makes the most sense to me. I'll go ahead and place that just right here like this. And then I'll go ahead and change the blend mode to luminosity, to kind of pick the texture underneath of it, and then I'll bring the contrast down, bring the brightness down, and then I'll also maybe take this down all the way to the layer -5, and now I have at least something interesting in the center there to kind of represent that. Okay, and then we're gonna add just a couple more stamps, and that is you should always add in at least 1 or 2 light source in a dungeon. And I think that's important because maybe you want to light up a section that you're trying to indicate to your players, like maybe there's a hidden passage there. Maybe it's because it's the only available torch that's there. Maybe it represents there's some people there already. Always having 1 light source is helpful because it's going to cause your players to ask questions. Where did the light come from? Who did it? those kind of things are going to be really, really helpful. So adding in one light source, I'll quickly go into the catalog, add in a torch, and I'm also going to favorite a lot of these things as well, so that I make sure that when it goes to add them, I can. So this one right here, I'll make sure to favorite that as well. There we go. Cool. So let's go ahead and add that. So I'll go ahead and add this. I'm going to bring the brightness down just a little bit on it. I'm going to make sure the scale is right. And what I'll want to do is you're going to want to place it in an area that's important to your players. So for instance, this summoning circle right here is a great place to put it. So we'll put one there, and I'll put one in the ending room, and I'll put another one in the beginning room. I think that's a good place to have these light sources. So next I'll go ahead and add in a light. Where are we at for time here? 35, 10 more minutes. Okay, cool. All right. Make sure to add this as well. Some cool tricks that you can do. You can layer light sources, by the way. So we can have this yellowish color, this yellowish orangish light color be where the torch is itself. And then we'll use this other light right here, this more yellowish one, a bigger one. And I'll bring the opacity down a little bit, make that big, and just place it right there. And then what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and take those two light sources, just type in light, and then right here in the catalog, select them both, copy, paste, and then line it up just like that, just like that. There we go. And you'll see the difference that light sources do, right? Okay, we're almost done. We're going to do one more thing. We're going to add we're going to add a texture or add a filter, so that way we can get all the art kind of blending well together. I'm going to use a color filter for that. I don't really care much for red sky. That's a little too much. Maybe bring it down a little bit, because I do like that red sky. Really helps to bring wood out, brings out that color. You can add a couple more filters. For instance, like maybe you want to add a doom and gloom a little bit in there as well. We'll bring that down. There we go. Okay. All right. So now that you've added in the light sources, you've added in the stamps and that process, the next step is to go ahead and do the shadow work. Now, one thing that I want to do is right now, even though I've added in these stairs, each room seems it's like it's on the same level. So how is it that I make it to where each room looks like it's on a different level? And we're going to use the top layer for this, because what happens is when I tried using the shape tool and the line tool for this, it took even more prep work and more time. So the top layer is going to be your ally in this one. Just make sure that the top layer is set to the overlay blend mode or the darken blend mode. Overlay will cause browns, reds to burn and kind of create this more kind of like burn effect on the more redder colors. Some people don't like that. So if you don't like overlay for your blend mode for top, use darken instead, okay? And you're going to want to use the darken blend mode because you're going to want a blend mode so that it interacts with the filters, okay? Now, what I'm not going to be doing is making intricate shadow work, because remember, we're only working within 15 minutes. You don't need to do that, okay? So we'll go over here. We're going to go to top layer. We're going to choose color black, and we're going to bring the opacity way down to about 30 is what I usually like to use here. And what I'll do is I'll just add a healthy layer across the entire map. So I'll just go like this and just go over the entire thing. That's the good start, because it is a dungeon. It's going to be darker. Now, if I want to show that certain rooms are further down than others, I can start painting them that way. So this room is probably the highest room in the dungeon, the starting room. So what I'll do is I'll paint this room right here to be a little bit darker than this room right here, okay? And then what I'll also do is I'll go back. I'm going to choose erase, and I'll just go ahead and erase right where the light source is, right here, so that works. That looks good. And then we'll move on to the next room. These stairs seem to be going down, so this room's going to be even darker still, right? So we'll make this room nice and dark. So we'll apply another healthy dosage of light, of dark there, right? And that makes the room look like it's even further down. So the more and more we descend in you're going to make it a little bit darker, and you're also going to make it darker where there's no light, right? If there's a room with no light, feel free to make it a little bit darker. All right, so now I'll move into this room and I'll go ahead and make it a little dark. In fact, I'll even add another layer, and then I'll go back over to erase and make sure to add in erase wherever there's been lighting. Here, 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 and here, right? And maybe a little bit of light going in there, and a little bit of light going in there, there, here, and right here, right? So then we can go back, turn erase off, and then we'll go ahead and apply the dark shadows to these rooms. Let's make this room darker. There's no light source in there, right? And then I can go back to erase, and then start erasing in where the light source is. All right, so that is basically the entire process right there. So I did a lot of talking, so it took over 15 minutes, took about 30 minutes, but once I shut my mouth, I can show you that all this stuff can be done in 15 minutes. But the trick to it is, 1, prep work, 2, being aware of the tool, right? So what's going to be helpful is already being familiar with the tool. A lot of things that help me along the way are understanding what stamps I need to use, being familiar with how tools operate, understanding all the options at the top and the lower bars, the right and the left panels. All of these things are really, really helpful. The prep work, the pre-planning, all of these things are going to be helpful when you want to make a dungeon quickly. So just know that I don't think that everyone will probably be able to make a dungeon in 15 minutes. Not to be rude to them or anything, but I'm biased because I have a pretty good familiarity with the tool. So, but this 15-minute challenge, if you're going to do it, is going to be helpful with you because it is going to help you to become more familiar with the tool. It's going to help you to be more efficient, more effective, and to work more quickly. So that's why I feel it's important to kind of show these 15-minute map challenges. We'll probably do more in the future, like 15-minute battle maps, 15-minute regional maps, 15-minute village maps. So we'll do all of that stuff because time challenges are helpful. So now that I have everything kind of set up, I can just select everything, create a group, and then everything is set up and done, right? I should make sure that I go back and make sure that everything that I used was favorited. I noticed that I didn't favorite my light sources. Let's favorite those things. I want to make sure that everything that I used is favorited. And you notice I didn't use a whole lot of stamps. I didn't even use the smaller rubble, by the way, or the wood, though I could have. But so that is basically the technique. And then what I'll do now is I'll go ahead and I'm going to delete everything here. Unless people want me to save this map and they want to be able to use it, we can. What I'll do is I'll go to save. I'm going to save as a clone. I'm going to go 15-minute map 2. Okay. And what this will do is it's going to create a new map or a clone of this map that's separate from the original. So that this way you don't have to worry about having to go back, create a new map, do all this cloning stuff. You can do it right within the editor, right there in that hamburger menu. So now that that copy has been made, I can go ahead and select that and delete everything. I also want to go back and erase everything on the top layer. So I'll go back to 100% here and go to erase, and clear. Everything's been erased. I'm going to want to apply that base texture to the ground again. So we'll go back to background, texture, we'll go to favorites. Oop, and you know what? I don't even think I favorited that texture. Hilarious. Let's go ahead and fill that BG layer. Oop, I don't even think that's the right texture, actually. My mistake. I think it was a brown one or a darker gray one. There it is. Okay, now I should be able to fill. There we go. All right, I'll quickly save, and then I need to give me a moment to set up a timer. And then we'll go ahead and make the 15 minutes. Now, if I don't respond or anything, if you don't see me responding or saying anything in the chat, just know it's because I'm doing the map. So I want to be able to show you. So let's go ahead and set everything up real quick. Here we go. I'm just going to quickly go over my favorites, make sure that I have everything. Favorites are there. Make sure I check here. Favorites, everything is there. Great. Cool. I'm going to go ahead and make sure my favorites are set here. Here we go. That's set up. Favorites. Ooh, you know what I didn't favorite? No, I think I'm fine there. Let me check the line tool as well. Favorites. This one. Perfect. There we go. Okay. All right. Give me a second here to turn that timer on. Here we go. Let's get cracking. All right. All right. So that first step, remember, snap to grid. Quickly add this. We'll start with the starting room. I'll probably have to set the grid up to that top layer so I can see it real quick. So those shadows. Oopsie, that already is making it difficult to see what I'm doing. Did it save it? There it goes. There we go. All right, there's my shadows. There we go. Subtract. No pressure, no pressure. All right, let's go ahead and create those rooms like we were saying before. And I'm going to make something just a little bit different from the last one that I made because, you know what? Why make the exact same dungeon? Make something a little bit different, right? Maybe a similar concept, but not exact, right? I think that would be a little bit more interesting. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and put one right here. And this time maybe we'll put the ending room. Oopsie, my mistake. We'll undo that real quick. Let's go and put the ending room over here somewhere. There we go. And now I can go ahead and connect them. Just like I did before. Okay, this looks good. One over here. Oop, let's go ahead and go up this way. All right, there we go. And then let's do it going out this way instead. Oh, cool. All right, that next step, remember, we'll go over to the brush tool. Make sure we set to merge. We'll go ahead and add the more natural parts. Remember, we talked about the natural parts. You know about those natural parts, right? Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Okay, here we go. Let's go ahead and add this. You're in trouble, naughty. All right, here we go. We'll go ahead and add in these parts. All right. All right, let's add this in. Oh, you know, I'm seeing a lot of negative space up here. Let's go ahead and use that negative space, right? All right, cool. Things are looking good so far. There we go. Add it there. A little more shape here. Good. Cool. Let's go ahead and add that. That looks good. We'll go ahead and adjust that grid, put it back where it belongs. And we'll change that intensity. Perfect. There we go. And then we'll work on that next part. Remember, we'll go ahead and use the portals and start removing some portals. I forgot to add the natural bit in the center too, but for now, we'll do this part. There we go. This one looks good. Let's go ahead and do a lot of this section here. That might look good. That one there. Okay, yeah, looks good. All right, let's switch over. Next step. See, we're already doing so much. It's been about 3 minutes now, so already we're moving along quite quickly. So we're moving right along. Thanks for bearing with me here and the patience. All right, there we go. Looks good. It's all coming together. It's all about having a good process. You know, process is how you get things done. You know what? Let's go ahead and create let's actually use the shape tool with this particular thing, and let's create like an internal room. Add mode. Let's go ahead and create like a room like that. And then what I'll do is go ahead and make some entrances that can kind of get into it. Let me undo that actually. Let's have one entrance to get in to this secret room in there. That looks good. And then I'll go ahead and add in some walls as well, just to kind of break that up. There we go. Let's do this right here. That looks good. Let's also go ahead and add in another room right here. In fact, we'll add several chambers. Let's add a chamber here. Let's add a chamber here. There we go. And then I'll go ahead and add in that. That looks good. All right, looking good. In fact, I'll line this up with this one. So I'll put it right there so it lines up with this over here. So that looks good. That looks good. Let's go ahead and do that one part I was talking about. We'll make the reverse part. So we'll go back, brush tool, add mode. We're going to use this one, and then I'll quickly just make a couple. Like maybe let's add one right here. It looks good, and then we'll add one. Let's add one in this corner right here so that players can kind of walk around that. That looks good. That looks good. And let's add another one right here, and we'll make it a little bit bigger because the other ones are kind of small. So there we go. That looks good. And then we'll add in our steps, right? Add in our steps. I'll put some steps there. Oopsie, I noticed it's on the wrong layer, and that happens. There we go. Let's go down. There we go. Let's keep going. Where are we at for time? Oop, moving right along. 9 minutes. Cool. All right. No pressure, no pressure, no pressure. No pressure, no pressure, no pressure. Okay, there we go. Steps look good. Oh, let's add one there. And then, of course, let's add one here as well. I think this should look good. There we go. Got some steps. Oh, going up out of the dungeon. I think that looks good. All the steps are there. Great. Perfect. Let's go ahead and add in our cracked ground. Let's add them in right here. That looks good. Let's add them one right here. Add some here. It's good. Let's add some here. All along here looks good. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you something. You know what? I'll let you know. For someone who does a lot of maps like I do, when I was doing the 5-minute challenge, just testing it out to see, what you could do in 5 minutes, I was overwhelmed too. So I'll let you know. With the experience I have, and I was overwhelmed. It was scary. So it is actually quite intense. So I totally relate to that, and I totally understand. It is scary. It is absolutely scary. Let's go ahead and bring the brightness down a little bit. Is that right? That looks good. Okay, cool. And again, you add these wherever you kind of have that crumbling ground. Let's go put one right there. Let's put another one right here. This looks good in this in this corner right here. That looks good. All right. Let's put one over here. There we go. That looks good. Where are we at for time? 8 minutes and 20 seconds remaining. Cool. Lots of time. We've done quite a bit already, so that looks good. That looks good. Okay. Okay. Let's go ahead and add in the remaining textures and stamps. Let's go ahead and add in our rubble. Let's go ahead and have some rubble in this corner here. Let's add another chunk of rubble right here. Let's add another chunk of rubble. Let's say right up against here. Oop, and you know what? I just noticed I did not create a wall, the way to get into this section. Let's put one right here like that, because you need to be able to get in there. There we go. My mistake. And then this large chunk right here. Let's maybe flip this and put this one over here like that. Okay, great. And then we'll go ahead and add that rubble texture. That looks good. Add it in here. Right here, here. It's good. Let's go ahead and take that summoning circle. We'll put it in that center room. Oopsie, not delete, my mistake. We'll go ahead and put that right there in the center. About there looks good. We'll have to change that blend mode. Luminosity, contrast, brightness. There we go. So now we have some action kind of going on inside of there. Let's go ahead and add in our torches. Let's go ahead and put one in the starting room like we did before. Let's go put one inside of this room, which is important. And then we'll put one in this last room as well, right over here. Perfect. And then just like before, put these on the upper layer. We'll put in one orange light there and a bigger one right here. And then I can just copy and paste those two light sources. Copy and paste them and just place them. If you put wherever your cursor is, that's where they're going to copy and paste from. So go ahead and place them there. You have some light sources there. Great. Let's go ahead. I already have the filters on, so that's good. Let's go ahead and add in, we have 6 minutes and 17 seconds. We got time. Let's go ahead and add in the light and shadow work, and then we'll add more details if we have time. Color, top layer. It's already been set up for me. Let's go ahead and bring it down to 30. This starting room, and in fact, I'll just go ahead and just cover up every single thing in here like that. So that first room is set up. Let's go ahead and do this darker room. These next rooms are going to be darker. This room's going to be darker. Perfect. Now we'll go back to erase, and then I'll go ahead and erase the sections where there's going to be light like that. There's going to be light kind of coming out of the here a little bit. So let's have it kind of coming out of there. Let's go ahead and put another light source. Put in some light kind of coming through here and coming into here a little bit. That looks good. That looks good. Okay. And we still have 5 minutes left. Whew. There's still so much that we could kind of do that we haven't done. So, I mean, for starters, we could add in some stuff to the catalog. We're cruising, so we can throw in some stuff. You know what might be nice is maybe throwing in a camp. Maybe there is like a bandit's fort that's inside of here. So maybe we want to add like some kind of camp in here. So let's go ahead and take this. Let's go ahead and in fact take this one instead. Without any lights, we'll add that in there. Let's add in some logs as well so that people can kind of sit down. Let's go ahead and bring the brightness down. I don't really care much for how bright that log is. Let's go ahead and put some logs right here. Maybe there's a bandit camp that's taking place in here, so we want to add that. Maybe we want to throw in some other things, like maybe throw in a chest or two. So let's maybe use these ones that are kind of like, we'll have some ones that can easily be opened, that aren't locked. So maybe we can throw in a locked chest or an unlocked chest hidden up in the corner here. Players can't see it unless they explore this section right here. If you're going to have a chest that's maybe in wide open that they can see, then maybe have that one locked. So maybe I can put one right here that's locked in the dead wide open. And then maybe we'll have a couple other ones that are hidden that are not locked, like that one right there. Let's go ahead and put another one in this corner, like right here. So chests are a great thing to add. You know what's also great to add? You can throw in the tag broken, and every single thing that's broken you can grab. So great things to grab are like broken crates, right? If you're always wondering about what kind of clutter and details to add, guess what? Crates, barrels are all great things that you can kind of add that are just perfect for that. And one thing I've noticed is that the opacity, by the way, select all of these, is set to 100. So we'll go bring that back 100%. There we go. Brightness. There we go. And I'm going to set these to random. There we go. And so we'll add a couple of those that are broken. There's also some other broken stuff in here. Like maybe we want to have a broken chest. So we had a we have a chest that works. So let's maybe put a broken one in there. Yes, trash, all kinds of trash, rubble, all kinds of things that can go inside of here. Like for instance, this trash pile right here works great. Maybe you want to have a trash pile in the center right here that players can kind of hide behind it. So maybe when they get into here, they hide behind here and they can ambush these people here. So that works out well, right? Lots of cool things that you can kind of add in there. Let's take some of the other ones. This trash here, we're at 2 minutes 25 seconds, so we still have time. Let's go ahead and put another rubble pile maybe right here, and let's maybe put it just right on top of that one. Let's also go ahead and go to my favorites, and there's also these wooden chunks right here. So let's maybe go ahead and take these darker wooden pieces and just kind of rando place them around. What I also find is really helpful is that you can create a path of wood that will kind of like lead to something else. Like I always find that an environment that's suggestive to your players is helpful. Like maybe you want to have some wood that kind of leads to this chest to kind of encourage them to go that. There's also chasms and things that you can add in there. One thing you can do that's really nice is that you want to show different levels of height on that. Like you want to show like a chasm. You can take a darker color like this. Like maybe you want to show that this area right here is darker, that is a little bit lower. You can add a little bit of a darker texture on the BG layer right into that. Maybe you want to show like a hole in the ground or something. You could do that too. Bring it up to like 100% or so, around this small. When you want to show like maybe that there's room for like a little bit of a crack on the ground. Let's maybe bring the brush size down a little bit. There we go. A bit smaller. So maybe I want to have like some cracks on the ground where players can like fall down. I can do that kind of stuff. Just make sure that you probably use the cracked ground texture in junction with it. So if I use this cracked ground texture like this around it, it will look like it's kind of like holes in the ground. Or you can just use this right here, these things right here, to work it as well. So lots of different options for putting it together, but these steps are really what helps you. I'm at 28.7 seconds. Yes, there's chasm stamps. There's all kinds of things that you can do, but this right here, this map was done in just 15 minutes. There's about 18 seconds left, so I'll stop here and I'll save it. But really, following these processes is what's super helpful. Again, it's kind of cheating to to look at my work because I'm familiar with the tool, but that's what the prep work is for. If you do all the prep work beforehand, then you'll be able to make the map. Sorry about that. That was my alarm. You'll be able to make the map in 15 minutes. So the prep work is, again, something that will be included into it, by the way. So make sure that you just prep the canvas first. Make sure that you stick with a realistic scale. Remember, 40 by 30 is a huge scale. It's not going to be very realistic for a 15-minute map, but that 20 by 15 is realistic. And this is not a tiny dungeon either. It's got several rooms. It's got things going on within it. It's got internal walls and rooms that your players can explore. It's got internal hazards, dangers. You could throw in traps. There's trap stamps. There's all these things that I could have added to this because there was that point where I was running out of things to do there because I had done so much pre-planning that I didn't realize I was going to get it done even quicker. So pre-planning is the trick there. Just remember to stick with a realistic scale, stick with pre-planning, prep, make sure that you have the stamps, textures, shapes, and lines. All of those things are saved, are favorited, so that way they're accessible to you. So you can just quickly follow those steps really, really quickly. So again, this is going to be helpful for those of you who need a dungeon on the fly. Those of you who just want to just increase their skill, this is the way to do it, because the trick to making a map quickly is pre-planning and also just favoriting all these things and being familiar with the tool. All right. I know I just kind of repeated myself there. All right, everybody. That is it. I hope you guys found that helpful. A little on the spot there, trying to get a map done in 15 minutes. But I'm glad that it turned out okay. And of course, if the more time that you spend on it, the only better it's going to be. You don't have to stop here. Maybe you're just doing 15-minute increments at a time. That's helpful too, right? That 15-minute step. And then in that last final step, maybe you want to take an extra 15 minutes, just add in all the details, right? So just following that process and the pre-planning is really the trick to making a map quickly. All right, everybody. I'm glad the weekend is here. I need some time off, and I know you do as well. So have a great weekend. Please stay safe and healthy, and merry map making, everyone. Take care, and I'll see you all on Monday. Bye, everybody. Take care.